I'm excited to welcome on all you guys. Let's just start off with talking about how you guys got to the point you're at. Coach Graham, you can kind of start us off then.
Sounds good. Zach, thanks for having me on this. I really appreciate stuff you're doing. I think you're a rising star, and I love seeing your posts. But, I started out actually my first job in basketball was at UCLA basketball camp. I started out trying to be a manager at University of Wisconsin where I went, and I actually didn't get hired. So over that summer, I went back to UCLA, worked basketball camp, and then joined on the basketball program the next year, and then was there for 4 years with Coach Ryan and learned a ton there. And we were able to have some success, and I was able to really learn how, things were done. And it wasn't obviously the most glamorous job. A lot of it's, being a student manager is like wiping up sweat and, just getting as many rebounds as you can in a practice and stuff like that. But during that time, I was really able to take a lot of notes, watch the practice film over again to see what drills we were doing, and just like every now and then try to pick the coach's brains whenever I could, whenever there was downtime. And then from there was a graduate assistant at VCU. I worked with Coach Harris right there for a year, and worked under head coach Shaka Smart, who's now at Texas, who was an unbelievable mentor to me, as he was to a lot of the other GAs. And we were able to have some success there and just really learned a lot from him. And kind of all of my jobs in coaching have been just from that graduate assistant experience. From there, I was director of operations at Rice, where I met Coach Van and worked for Coach Mike Rhodes, who's at VCU now, and then went to Mount St. Mary's with Coach Christian and worked with Coach Boatner. And I've been with Coach Christian. This is going on my 5th year now with him at 3 different spots. So, it's just been an awesome journey, a humbling, awesome journey. And, I'm excited to keep it going and keep learning and improving.
Absolutely. And Coach Julian, we can kind of talk about you now. How did you get to the point you're at today?
Yeah, so I actually played basketball where I'm coaching now. I played at William & Mary, graduated in 2014. My senior year, I didn't really know what I wanted to do after I graduated. And so I kind of just talked to some of our assistant coaches and kind of watched them put together some scouting reports, and decided that was something I might be wanting to do. I asked them about it, and they were like, "Don't do it. Don't become a coach. It's not worth it." Clearly, I didn't listen to them. But I got my first opportunity to be a graduate assistant at Indiana University. I'm actually from Bloomington, Indiana, where Indiana University is. So I got to work for Coach Crean, Tom Crean, for 2 years there. And Tom Crean's actually the head coach at Georgia now. So the first person I ever worked for in terms of basketball. I learned how to work hard. Not a lot of it. I think there's some things I can take from it, some things that I think I didn't agree with. But I think he instilled the work ethic that I have now in me. And I think I learned a lot about how to work film and how to watch film. And I value his opinion on anything. Anytime I'm thinking of making any kind of decisions coaching-wise, I always shoot him a text or call him and just get his opinion on it. And from there, I spent 2 years at Indiana. Then I went to be an assistant at Mount St. Mary's with Coach Jamie and Christian. And that's where I met Graham. And we both started there our first year. And so the interesting thing about Mount St. Mary's is that Coach Christian actually coached me at William & Mary for a year. My freshman year, he was one of the assistant coaches there. And so that's kind of where I've gotten to know him. And so through that and through Coach Crean helping me get the job, I got to be an assistant for them for 2 years. And after our second year, he went to Siena, and then I actually got an opportunity to become an assistant coach back at my alma mater at William & Mary. Got to be there. Going into my 3rd year now, going into my 2nd year with a new staff. Coach Fisher is our head coach now. Had a great year this past year. Just looking to continue to build on some of the momentum that we've had going. So that's kind of been my journey so far.
And Coach Harris, kind of talk about your journey to where you're at.
Yep. So I kind of same route a little bit as Coach Bousley. I was a student manager at the University of Florida when Billy Donovan was the head coach there. I was there for 2 years, and it was a year after they won the back-to-back. So I wasn't there with Joe Kim Noah. I was there with all the people that they, I think, try to forget about a little bit because it was the 2 NIT years that they had in a row. Actually, my freshman year was the second year they went to NIT, and the assistant coaches were Rob Lanier, who's now a head coach, Larry Chiat, who ended up leaving later on to be the head coach at Wyoming again, and then Shaka Smart was an assistant coach. He ended up leaving after that first year, and Richard Pitino took his spot. So there were some big-time assistants there while I was a student manager. After my second year of being a student manager, I missed hooping so much. I transferred to a Division II school in Ohio, which where I'm from is only 3 hours away from where I grew up, Ashland University, and I played there for 3 years. But because I had that relationship with Coach Smart when I was a student manager at Florida, me and him got really close, being in the office late and stuff like that while I was doing laundry. He said, wherever I end up, I want you to be a grad assistant for me. So he was a head coach at VCU. He kept his word, and I was at a grad assistant. Graham was in his second year of his grad assistant when I came in my first year. And the timing kind of worked out. All the 2-year grad assistants had left and found jobs, and then the video coordinator ended up leaving later, and then I got his job. So it worked out. So I was a video coordinator my second year at VCU while I was still doing grad school. Then Coach Smart went to Texas, and then I was a video coordinator at Texas for 3 years. And then not this past year, but the year before, I was at the Naval Academy as an assistant coach. That was my first assistant coaching spot. I was there for less than a year. Coach Horn, who's now the head coach at Northern Kentucky University, he was the associate head coach for Coach Smart at the University of Texas. Me and him got really close during our time there. When he came to NKU, which is 7 miles away from Cincinnati, where I'm from, he asked me to come, and we had a good year this past season, won the conference championship, and was about to go to the NCAA tournament when all this stuff happened. So, but that's kind of my little journey.
Awesome. And last but not least, obviously, Coach Vaughn, kind of talk about how you got to where you're at.
Yeah, man, it's I guess I'm similar to Coach Julian. I played at Rice. I'm originally from Alabama. I went to Columbia undergrad, so I met Coach Hartman there. Coach Hartman, when he was leaving Columbia, headed to Rice. I was graduating, and I had a year of eligibility left. So he ended up going down to Rice, took me with him. I played there for a year. I was a GA under Graham, Coach Graham Bousley. But he, I don't know, I called him G-Baby because he always kind of reminded me of G-Baby out hardball. But I know he kind of helped me a lot, man. And I think being a GA is probably the best interview you'll ever have. And so, a lot of late nights doing laundry. Obviously, you put in the hours, you put in the work, the people above you see it. Graham helped out a lot. Coach Perry helped out. Coach Rose saw the work ethic. And then once Coach Rose went back to VCU as the head coach, they hired Coach Perry, the associate head coach at the time. And he asked me to join. So I joined as a video coordinator. I was a video coordinator for a year. And now I'm entering my 3rd year as an assistant. So
that's awesome. And all you guys kind of mentioned, big-time head coaches that kind of are big mentors, big pieces in your guys' career. Just discuss how important is it to have kind of a mentor that's established what they established in their career in your life?
I honestly wouldn't be here without some of my mentors. And also just the people you work with too, like working with all these guys on the call, but also, the head coaches that we've been all fortunate to work for. And I can't speak for these guys, but, I'm learning, going through that journey and making mistakes and learning and having those guys, be able to teach me how to do things and teach you how to be, work in a program, and making that transition from playing to GA to all those steps. It's just, you need a guide on that journey, and you're not going to accomplish, anything great without that kind of guidance. You need that work ethic, but you need that humility, and you need great teachers to help you along the way.
Absolutely. And also, all you guys kind of talked about the head coaches that are established in wherever the field they are now that's helping you. Julian, talk about your experience with, you talk about some of your coaches you had. What was the importance of having those guys in your life?
Yeah, to talk about Coach Crean, again, I had never worked in college basketball. I didn't know how any of that stuff worked really. I thought I was going to go be a GA, and I got to hoop every day. So that's kind of why I was interested in doing it. And then you learn like the basketball is like the minority of what your job is going to be doing. It's whether you're doing food runs, you're taking guys to class, you're doing hours of film work. I think I'm thankful for just being able to work for him. My first ever job, because he taught me how to work, and he taught me the stuff that I know now about, especially about offense. So that's been the greatest thing for me. And I think when I think about working for Coach Christian and Coach Shaver and Coach Fisher now, just taking some of the things that I learned from my first job and the opportunities that they gave me. Coach Christian let me coach the defense when I was there for 2 years. So that was a tremendous experience for me, because when I was a player, I only thought about offense. So I didn't really know much about the defensive end. But now I consider myself looking more about what teams are doing defensively than I am offensively. So I think it's been great to learn different things every single place that you go on this journey.
And Coach Harris, you mentioned a lot about different coaches. I mean, Coach Donovan's obviously an NBA coach now. Shaka Smart's one of the best head coaches in college basketball. What's some of the stuff you learned from those guys?
I think one thing from Coach Donovan, it's nothing that because, he was a head coach and Hall of Fame type coach, and I was a student manager, so I'm not trying to sit up here and act like I was, his boy or nothing like that. Mm-hmm. But one thing that you did learn from Billy Donovan is, like, his presence was unbelievable. Like, as soon as he walked in the gym, you didn't even have to see that he was in there, but you knew he was in the gym. So, like, everyone – and he wasn't one of the type of coaches that, really hung around for a very long time. But when he was there, it was like business. And so it makes sense that, he went to the NBA, because he really had that business mentality. And Coach Smart kind of almost – I don't want to say the exact opposite of Donovan, but he really instilled that, building that relationship with your players. Especially from the GA level, and Graham can attest to this, like, he really wanted the grad assistants to even have a strong relationship with the players and the coaches, because we were closer in their age and we could probably relate a little bit better. We were kind of like, the fun uncle a little bit, that you might want to do something that you don't want to tell your parents, but you can tell one of the GAs. So just that, and then the work ethic, like all you guys have said. I mean, when me and Graham were GAs, and I think we all have, we all work hard, and we probably always worked hard our whole life. But man, that was the hardest I ever worked in my life. It was so hard. I mean, I'm talking about, like, not sleeping. Like, just you had to, if anything bad happened in the middle of the night, you had to take care of it. Running the camps in the summer, you would think during the off season, we get to relax a little bit. You working harder in the off season than you are during the season. So it was hard, but looking back on it, like, I don't think any of us would be successful coaches like we are now if it wasn't for that experience.
Good, Ben. I mean, he kind of talked about just the importance of different types of coaches. We know today a lot of the new player kind of coaches, the guys that build relationships, that true chemistry is a lot more popular now. But for you personally, what's your view on different kinds of relationships as being a head coach of a team?
So, I mean, I think relationships, I mean, kind of from all our stories, like, you see relationships are important. And like I tell people all the time, you never know what someone may be 5, 10, 15 years down the line. I was able to go to Columbia, and a lot of my classmates, I mean, had no involvement in athletics, but they're all in their different fields making a lot of good money. So it's like when you start to bring those worlds together, I mean, you start to see, your life kind of elevate in various ways. And I think from Coach Rose to Coach Para, I mean, they all have connections. And when they see your work ethic, they can speak to your character. I mean, their resources are your resources. With the guys, it's like they said, like, we're so close in age that we just understand. They can make little jokes in practice that my coach might not understand, but I get completely. So I have to go over there like, hey, don't say that again. But it's just a lot, man. And while you're young, while you're in your youth, man, you can take full advantage of it. And like they said, being a GA sucks. It's a lot of hard work. I mean, lack of sleep. I was, school full time. I think I was teaching the same time I was GA. So if I wasn't in the classroom teaching, then I was at, the gym. So it was just a lot going on. I was probably averaging 3 hours of sleep per night. But, I mean, you just put that work ethic and that grind and just constantly just working at your craft. You see it pay off. And to be as young as we are, I mean, in the positions that we're in, I mean, it's phenomenal just to be able to sit here and even have this conversation right now. So.
Absolutely. And Coach Graham, I mean, when you look at just the idea of coaching, like I said, there's many different philosophies. There's kind of the old kind of philosophy that Tom Thibodeau kind of grinded out, not necessarily a whole chemistry type of thing. And then you see kind of the new age of guys that truly build close bonds with coaches, with the players. Kind of what's your thoughts on like the new modern day kind of coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely, I think I take a lot of, what I believe in now in coaching philosophy from Coach Christian, just being with him in my 5th year. It's really like your job is to try to mentor and be a teacher, and try to, not only develop relationships so that you can perform on the court, but you want to try to help these guys like learn how to, structure their day, structure their week, and, develop in the classroom and be successful in whatever they do afterwards. And, Coach Christian developed a leadership enhancement plan that we've been working on with the guys via Zoom, and we've, he constantly challenges the guys to do more, to watch more film, to, achieve whatever they can achieve and not settle. And I think that's the biggest thing. So it's kind of a combination of both. I think Coach Christian does a great job of, kind of giving you that love, but also pushing you to be at your best. I think you kind of need both things. So.
Absolutely. And I mean, Coach Julian, we're trying to talk about the biggest thing probably this whole summer, this whole year is, I mean, COVID is one of the biggest things and it's affected sports drastically. How as a program are you handling this? How have you guys kind of dealt with all the COVID effects?
So for us as a staff, we've been meeting every day at 10 a.m. And we've been doing that. I mean, this is our first week that he's given us off with those meetings since the stuff hit back in March. So we've been doing those meetings every single day, whether it's talking about recruiting or sometimes you don't got nothing to talk about really. You're just looking at each other making jokes. But a lot of it is recruiting, and then he's come up with some projects for us to do over the course of this coronavirus or COVID stuff. So we've been doing that, and then we actually just completed 5 weeks with our players. We met with them on Zoom 4 times a week, and every week we were talking about. We have 5 core values, so we spent 1 week on each core value, and that's them talking about the meaning of it and watching other prominent athletes or coaches talk about the core values, and it's also how it applies to our program and what it means in our program. So we've taken 5 weeks to talk about that. We just completed it, and now we've got a couple weeks until school starts. But we haven't been able to get these guys back to campus at all during this whole stretch. They can't use any of the facilities, so they won't be able to do that until school starts, and that's August 19th. So I don't know if any of these other guys are able to do that, but our guys have not been on campus for a long time now. So that's kind of how we've been adjusting to it.
And for you, Coach Harris, I mean, when these guys all start coming back, some schools we see have started practice, some obviously have not. How's this going to affect when it comes time for the season when some guys have had maybe a couple extra weeks or even a month before other schools do?
Well, I think you might see a little bit of an advantage. To be honest with you, I think all these guys haven't been able to work out as much as normal, whether if like we have our whole team back except for one kid and he's in the Czech Republic, but he'll be coming back here soon. Like we worked out on Monday and today. But I think Coach Horn always says this. He thinks we keep them here in the summer too long anyway. And so I know our guys now, and they did a good job while they were out of, staying in shape and working out on their own. Like our guys were telling us, like, yeah, my legs have never felt this good in my life. So I think you'll see a lot of guys. Obviously, guys will have to get in game shape, and it'll be like, their preseason is going to be shorter, so that's going to be the hardest thing. But I think guys their bodies are going to feel a lot better because they haven't had that grind that whole summer. That, to be honest with you, is probably a little too long sometimes to keep guys, 8 weeks, and they've only got to go home for a week after the season. So, I know our guys, but this is the happiest we've ever seen them in the summer being back on campus, just because they get to hoop again. So we definitely appreciate it and probably won't take it for granted. I know as long as I live.
So, Coach Van, I mean, you talk about getting guys back, getting in the game shape, and that's a big thing a lot of people talk about. How do guys kind of get back in shape? What's it going to be like getting these guys for games ready whenever games start back up? How do you guys kind of plan to do that as a program?
I think, well, one, you will see the guys who were self-disciplined when they went home. Like everyone didn't have access to a gym, so the shot may not be as sharp as it once was, but you running around the neighborhood doing your push-ups, sit-ups. I mean, if you kept a consistent routine, not that it won't be an adjustment period, but they'll be a little ahead of those guys who went home and did absolutely nothing. But on the flip side, these guys do get a break, man. We put them through a lot. I was a college athlete. I completely get it. Basically 4 or 5 hours a day from weight room to practice. I mean, it's a lot on your body. And I'm thinking, like, I don't know if I've taken a break like this since I was in middle school. Like, I've actually had time to really just sit down and really, like I can breathe, relax, and really just rejuvenate because you don't get a break. As far as our guys, man, they're extremely excited to get back to campus. We have to be smart as a coaching staff. We can't hit the ground running day one and just trying to kill them. They will get injured. We want to avoid that as much as possible. So it's small things, man. Slowly getting them back, do some conditioning with the strength and conditioning coach, making sure they're doing, light jogs and to sprint and just working over time and not expecting a full team on day one. Like, we understand it's a process. It's gonna be a process to get everyone back where they were. It's gonna be a process for us coaches to adjust. I mean, we got to wear masks now. I don't know if I can be as hands-on as I once was. Like, maybe I have to stand 6 feet away. Like, it's just so many factors that we have to consider. So it gives us time all to get acclimated to the new procedures. So
that's a great point, Coach Graham. I mean, I know that's a big question for all athletes. They're coming off of being obviously the best people in shape in the world, and you get them back and they haven't played for so much time. How do you guys kind of plan to prevent injuries, and do you think there will maybe be an uptake in injuries throughout the course of the year?
Well, I think like Coach Green alluded to, it's it's a process, right? I mean, we've met multiple times as a staff. One of our assistants, Coach Ryan Devlin, he's been on a task force working with our strength coach and our athletic trainer to kind of put it together to see what it looks like, along with Coach Christian's guidance, to try to plan out the steps we need to take to work these guys back in. And now, I think we have some measures, and like Coach Green said, like, I think all of our guys, like the student athletes we have at our university, they're like pretty self-motivated, and we're fortunate to work for head coaches where they only want to recruit high-achieving student athletes. But I think, it will be a process as it works back in. But the nice thing about how we do things is we spend a lot of our preseason work with individual workouts. So we're doing as many coaches as we can in the gym and managers and one player to try to really work that individual development. Now, with the new protocols and restrictions, how many people can we have in the gym, so on and so forth. But our guys are already conditioned that this is their time to get better. And, they've taken the bull by the horns with that in this off season. But I think when we work back in, that's what we're going to do. We're going to continue with our plan that we have to really try to develop them as an individual. And I think, overall, maybe that's less team stuff, but, we typically do a great job. These guys gel so quickly just with the types of character they have. So, I think with our plan in place with the individual workouts, I think these guys are going to hit the ground running when they come back.
And with Coach Julian, I know all programs have kind of a plan of how to get guys in peak form at the right time throughout the course of the year. For the upcoming year, we don't exactly know when and if it will start on time, if there'll be some stoppage because of COVID ticks going up again. How do you guys kind of plan to balance that out and still stick to the game plan with stuff kind of being uncertain?
Yeah, and I think it's similar to what Coach Van and Coach Graham are talking about with taking the right measures in terms of not going full speed at these guys right when they get back on campus, and making sure that we're tapering and making sure that we're starting slow and it's like a build up into getting back to actual game shape. And our hope is as a staff that, and we've told our guys this a lot, is that it's pretty much everybody has the similar resources during this time of coronavirus. And like, there's guys that are either working or there's guys that aren't working. And that commit. It's really easy to make an excuse right now. Players are good at making excuses normally. And right now, like, you can always be like, well, coach, there's a pandemic going on. I can't find a gym. Well, there's always a gym outside you can shoot on. Are you going to go do that? Or are you going to be like, no, it's too hot outside. So there's always a kid that can make an excuse, and we're trying to figure out, and we'll see which kids are actually working out and which kids are saying they were working out and really they've been playing Fortnite all night or hanging out with their girl every day. That'll be interesting to see for us to see once we get these guys back on campus.
And Coach Harris, you talked about you have seen some of the guys already get back. I mean, you don't have to say names or anything, but have you seen maybe guys that weren't heavily in the rotation last year that possibly could have passed up a guy maybe in front of them just because of the work they put in during this past few months?
Well, our roster is a little different. We lost 3 guys that were some. We lost our tournament MVP, who's also the defensive player of the year. Lost a guy who had 35 against Arkansas. Lost another guard who had 5 30-point games. So we lost a lot. So we really didn't have a whole lot of expectations as far as who was going to play what. We got one guy that we know, like, he's going to play until he can't walk. But then we got other dudes that, like, they're pretty much just fighting for position. So I don't want to say, like, no one was guaranteed anything coming in. We got some young guys that actually look better than we thought they were going to look just from these past 2 days. And they're in better shape than I thought they would be, because you always worry that with high school kids. But, I'm really impressed with every single last one of our guys, because, we get on them every day to work out and all that stuff, but we're not there. So I guess the pessimist in me was kind of expecting the worst, but we came back and our guys look great, and we're really, really happy about that.
Another big aspect of this is recruiting. Assistant coaches, you guys kind of help put these teams together. And Coach Green, what's this been like recruiting during virtual visits? How have you kind of got adjusted to this new way of recruiting?
It's funny, man. I think I go back and forth what I prefer, but it was a much more of a separation. Like, when I went to work, I was at work. When I had to travel, like, I knew I had to travel, drive all these places, recruit. But when I got home, like, I was at home. Now, with so many Zoom calls, so many texts and phone calls, it just completely changed that. So me working is me walking from my living room to the office just to do more work. And, I mean, you always got to be prepared. There's a lot more effort, to make sure you're prepared for Zoom calls, having presentations together. Sometimes you calling these same kids over and over, and it's like, week 2, you good. Week 6, 7, and 8, you like, all right, what I'm about to talk to this kid about. So you always kind of have to stay relevant and kind of find new material. And I don't know, I'm trying different things, man. Things I see on Twitter, I might think the kid, find funny. I'll send it to him. We laugh about that. But yeah, man, the recruiting is different. There's a lot of Zooms, a lot of text messages, just trying to find new material, man, trying to stay relevant and just stay fresh with when you hit the kid up and just checking in and say hello. So.
And Coach Graham, I think that's one of the biggest questions a lot of people ask right now is guys are starting to get back into playing in some certain states, AU games, and we see a lot of programs are considering, people wonder, are all those coaches really looking at that and taking that seriously? What's your thoughts on watching the game film for recent AAU games?
Well, I think it's tough. It's just such a different time. I mean, I think as a program under Coach Christian's direction, we're never necessarily hasty to offer a guy. We have a pretty extensive process with how we recruit, and we like to gather a lot of information. So I think during this time, I think it's good if, as long as, the kids are following the right protocols and staying safe, to see them play and get kind of a feel with that. But just with the understanding that, like all these guys said, like, this might not be the end all be all for them. So I think you've seen both like accelerated timelines for guys and like decelerated timelines for guys where, some guys might take some more time to make a decision. Some guys decide right away if they have good options on the table. But in terms of evaluating for the future classes, I think it's good to get that information, but just with the understanding that, this guy might be out of shape, so on and so forth. But like these guys said, it's a good talking point. I mean, you have things to talk about watching them play, and you just get a little more information. I mean, I like, and the nice thing is, like, when you're watching these guys play, the things that don't really go away are, some of the things about how they are as a teammate and their character. Like, you can kind of pick that stuff up regardless of how good a shape you're in. how unselfish they are. So, we're using those kind of cues all the time when we're evaluating the guys, and not just, their talent or, if they're in game shape.
And a couple more questions before I let you guys go. Coach Julian, one of them is also with these guys, we don't know if there will be a high school season, what the high school season will look like. If we don't see a game being played this year, how do you guys kind of plan to recruit with no games happening potentially?
Oh, man. I think if there's no high school season, I think that'll be tough because we won't have any film to base the stuff off of. There are, like Coach Bousley was talking about, there's some games going on with in certain states that are being held, and you can stream those games. But I would hope that, or if it's feasible, that if there is a high school season, maybe they have no fans at these games. I don't know. But maybe hopefully they'll still have the games, but just not have fans if that's safe. That way we can still watch the film. And that really won't change much of, obviously you want to see a kid play live, but I'm sure all of us on here have watched plenty of high school film before. And that's pretty standard for what we've been doing over the course of our jobs before this pandemic hit. So I think that's kind of what I would hope that would happen, as long as it's safe and feasible for everybody to do.
Mm-hmm. And Coach Harris, if there are no games this upcoming year, and would that possibly lead to an uptick and possibly looking for grad transfers or just transfers in college to come in for you guys, or how would you guys approach that?
Maybe, kids are going to transfer anyways, regardless. It don't matter how many, like there's, a couple kids that you look at their stats and be like, why the heck are you leaving? But so kids are always going to leave. But I think it all depends. I think for the guys that have done their job recruiting, let's use this class, for example, 2021, if they've seen them this past year and already know what the kid is and how he is as a family, how his family is and all of that, then, and you really want them, then I guess it doesn't, and if anything, it might help you that if they don't have a senior year. But, the one good thing about transfers or things like that is that there is, they're college players. They've done it before. Even though it was at a different school, they played at this level. So that is the one thing that's interesting about transfers, especially when you can't see a high school kid, because there is some unknowns when it comes to high school players. Even if you get to watch every single game of their career, you're going from one level to a higher level. And how will that translate? You can always evaluate, and some people's evaluating skills are better than others, but there's still a little bit of unknown. A college player has actually done it at that level, which is a little more, solid for you. But if you've done your work with recruiting, a little bit earlier, it might not hurt you as much. But, we get however many emails you get a day about kids. Like video is kind of like what we have to do. So, it will hurt for sure for high school kids if they can't send out a highlight tape at least from this past year to a coach.
Absolutely. And with Coach Green, we know there's a lot of stuff at some point is going to happen where guys can just transfer. It's going to be right after the freshman season or however that looks. What's your thought on that? And what do you want? What do you want that rule to look like if it does happen?
I've never had anyone ask me what I want it to look like. I guess I'm just preparing just in case it does go through, how it changes. I do think a lot of schools, in a sense, a lot of lower level mid-major schools would be like a junior college. Like you come here 1 year, 2 years, ball out, you're going to be out. But on the flip side, we could benefit because I think, sometimes you get a kid that transferred in, they have to sit out a year, play 2 years, they don't have the option to leave. But they come and immediately they are eligible to play. You don't have those guys leaving the way that you did prior. So, it could work, and us knowing that we got a kid for 3 years instead of 2 years guaranteed now. It just depends on the perspective. But, this day and age, man, I think with this generation, it's just a little different. Whatever reason they're unhappy, they're leaving. You can do everything. You can be their best friend, make sure they got food, whatever. Like, if that's somebody gets in the air, family, friends, that you can do better, they're not treating you right. People want to up and leave. I think that, this generation's kind of gone away from just trying to work it out, figure it out, and really trying to grind it out, improve yourself. It's just like, hey, if it's not perfect, I'm moving on. So it's inevitable. I don't know if I have a preference with the rule. I can see pros and cons to both sides. I don't think my head coach is a fan of the rule, but if it happens, we'll adjust and we'll keep moving, man. That's all we can do.
Down. I have one last question for all you guys, and you can kind of talk about your guys' legacy when you guys leave the game. What do you guys want that to be? Coach Graham, start with you. What do you want that legacy to be by the time you wrap up your coaching and your just overall basketball career?
Wow. Yeah, I think in general, my legacy, wherever this journey takes me, I just think, I want to be hopefully like a mentor to the guys after they're done playing, and just have them remember me as like a teacher that was able to guide them and help them through their journey, and can be that person they call when they're 40 years old, that they just had a baby or whatever like that. So I'm hoping that I can leave an impression on them, whether it's basketball, whether it's just being a mentor to them off the court, that they can take with them when they leave the school.
How about you, Coach Julian?
Yeah, I'd say it's similar to that. I think into this business, I didn't really know what I wanted to get out of it, but after being in it for a while now, I think it's really cool what we get to do. We get to take these 17, 18-year-old kids, and we kind of get to mold them over the course of 4, sometimes 5 years into young men. And I think the biggest thing that I love about coaching kids is the relationships that you build with them, and not only on the basketball court, because that stuff's like a given, but whenever I can talk to guys outside of basketball or after they graduate, joking around with them about past things, like that stuff is the most rewarding for me. I feel like, and that's what I get the most joy out of. And I think that's what I want to – hopefully I leave that mark wherever I coach and whatever I'm done with this business a few years from now. But yeah, I think that's kind of where I want to leave myself.
Now, how about you, Coach Harris?
Yeah, similar to what those two guys have said. We get to help young athletes, and we get to, mold them in a very crucial point in their life. And I think it's, it'd be great to have a legacy of being able to help guys, even guys, like you might get 1 or 2 guys every 4 years that want to be coaches, the guys that don't even want to do anything with basketball later on in life. And then you can talk to them later and say how, hey, you being a coach for me really helped me later on in my life. I think that would really mean a lot. And not to sound ridiculous, one of my legacies that I would love to have is hopefully I can be a part of a lot of wins too. That would be great also. I think that would be really good too, because as much as we love, and we're all doing this for the kids for sure, but I'm telling you, ain't nothing like winning. And hopefully that's a good motivator in life that, now it doesn't guarantee that if you work hard, you'll win, but that's the only shot you get. So that's one of the great lessons you can learn from sports also.
Last but obviously not least, Coach Green, what do you want your legacy to be?
I think, man, I'm echoing what the other 3 have said. For me, my entire life, like leaving high school, I didn't go to just the best basketball offer. I wanted to be different. I wanted to, build my life in a way that wasn't only tied to sports. I remind my athletes all the time, basketball is what you do, it's not who you are. I think it's our responsibility to mold them for what's coming ahead, life after the game is over. Like when you're independent, you're a man, you have a family, you have kids, different things that we teach them, whether that's just going through some type of adversity or teamwork or just communication. I mean, it's small things that we incorporate every day into our practice, into our core values, that's trying to prepare them for what's coming ahead. With everything that's going on, I mean, I know like my players of color during the George Floyd, I have players, I'll talk politics all the time with certain players because that's what they love to do. So I have to make sure I'm always abreast to what's going on in the world around me. But it's always kind of just helping them and not trying to force them to believe one way or another, but just educating them on both sides and letting them come to an understanding on their own. And so I think, once we're done, we hang our shoes up and say we're done. We want to be able to look back and just have all those kids that come back 10 and 15 years and be like, thank you, coach. You prepared me for what was coming ahead. It wasn't just about the X's and O's, touching the baseline, anything like that, but you really cared about me as a man. So I think that's what we all want when we done, when we say it's over, like just to have that feeling.
Well, I definitely appreciate all you guys for coming on today, and excited to see what God's got next for you guys.
Sounds good. Thank you, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you very much.
Of course, you guys are always welcome on, man. God bless, guys.
Yeah.
All right.